Hello, 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 everybody. Ernest White II here on the Fly Brother Radio Show with my brother, Scott Brills. Scott is an international entrepreneur and adventure capitalist currently focused on making his mark in the travel and tourism space, which he's been doing since I first met him. Having started his adventure and business career at the age of 19 in the field of technology, he has since traveled to nearly 100 countries and has started companies in 6 of them along the way. He is currently focused on culinary and adventure tourism in Japan and Tanzania, as well as supporting Fly Brother with his web and technologically related needs. Technology related needs. Technology. I don't know which one, but both and. Uh, and man, we are so happy to have you here again. You were featured in our Detroit episode of season 2 of Fly Brother with Ernest White II, because that is your hometown.
Right,
And
that's right.
yes, and you got, a little soul, a little funk, a little, all the things. But I'm excited to have you here again to talk about all the amazing opportunities that people have to travel with you to create magical experiences out in the world. Thank you so much, Scott Brills, for doing and being who and how you are.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Good to be back in this latest iteration. I know I was on the pod a long time ago, the first iteration of the pod back in the day, and
Yes.
happy to be back for this new and improved version.
hmm And we don't look a day over the day we looked when we, were on the podcast the first time, when we had our first interview. So, man, listen, we have known each other for a few years now, and you've been along as a supporter of Fly Brother from the very beginning. So I just wanted to thank you for that, and for always just kind of showing up as a cheerleader, as someone who is able to bring a bit of perspective to what we do. But tell me, Scott, why do you do what you do? Why do you feel so called to be out in the world all the time and to connect with people?
I mean, why not?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I think it's my calling, and I was lucky enough to. I didn't find it right away. I started off doing what I liked at the time and what I knew at the time, which was building websites and doing IT and stuff like that. But I think as we progress through life, our interests change, we change, and so around 2010. I'd started to have about enough of making websites. Obviously, I got out just in time, with the advent of Squarespace, Wix, AI, and all that stuff. But even back then, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for a new challenge, and got into the travel and tourism game, kind of surreptitiously through just being on a safari with my father, like a tour group kind of deal, and then making friends with one
Mm-hmm.
of our guides, Josh, and it's like, hey, you're really good at what you do. Have you ever thought about doing your own thing? And he's like, no, not really. I was like, well, I know how to start and run businesses remotely. I mean, I'd only done one up till then, but like I knew how to run that pretty decently. And I was like, I know your target market, which is mostly Americans. So like, if you want, we could partner up together and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. It's mostly just my time on the line right now to get the website up and start up the company, like all the logistics and whatnot. I'd actually never had a business partner before, so that was new. I had never done travel and tourism as a business. I'd obviously never done business in Africa before. I didn't know anything about the safari industry. So I started off with, you know, not zero, but I definitely had a lot of things to learn. It took a few years to learn a lot of it, and I'm still learning things every single year. Being 13 years into it, and even with other projects on the side now too. But yeah, I do it because I love it. So it's easy to connect the dots looking back, right? And so I look at now and I'm like, what am I doing? So growing up, what did I love? So I love travel, even though I wasn't necessarily able to do a lot of it growing up, at least internationally. Um, I always wanted to. That urge was always there. I loved animals growing up. Big animal geek. I had all sorts of animals, throughout my home.
Oh,
not necessarily like dogs and cats. I'm talking more like reptiles and amphibians and bugs
tigers,
and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
insects.
Um, and then also like from a very young age, I was, even if it was just on paper, because I didn't obviously wasn't 18 and I didn't have money, whatnot, to start up a proper business, but I was making business plans in my notebook. I was making up my comic book company or my software company and stuff. Like I was, 12 years old doing this, and I was also doing little side hustles here and there. Like anything I could think of. Mowing lawns, shoveling snow, washing cars. Like, I was doing anything to make a dollar, when I was really young, and using it to buy comic books and candy and stuff like that. So I look back now and I'm like, okay, what I'm doing right now, it combines travel, animals, and entrepreneurship. Perfect. And I would have never, he asked me before I went to Africa in 2010 for the first time with my father, you know, do you ever see yourself like running a safari company someday? And I was like, what? But it's funny how life works out.
And it continues to work out because not only have you opened up a safari company with Josh, your
That's right.
buddy on the ground, is that right? Yeah, but you also have other companies where you help people enjoy food in certain destinations, like Japan and Mexico and other places. And I've known you through some of these iterations, but you've always had an upbeat and positive attitude towards the endeavors, even as they have been challenging in many ways. What do you attribute to that sense of optimism?
Uh, I think a lot of it is just genetic. I hate to, I'd love to say, oh, like,
You woke up
I mean,
like
I'd
this.
love
You
to
were
say, oh,
born this way.
I meditate every day and I exercise regularly, and this helps keep my anxiety low, my stress low, and I think about all the things I'm grateful for, and gratitude journaling and whatnot. I don't. Um, I mean, you've known me for about a decade. It's just kind of built in. Like I'm a relentless optimist with a bunch of energy, and I'm generally smiling or laughing. And if something goes wrong, I don't let it get me down. I tend to learn from every single thing. Whether I screw up real bad or something doesn't go my way. Use everything as a learning experience, and then move forward from there. Because if you let that stuff bring you down, or you quit or whatnot, like you're not going to get ahead that way. You just got to keep pushing forward. And everyone makes mistakes, and I found that the best way I've made mistakes, at least, or the best way I've learned in my life, is making those big mistakes. I've learned really good, and really quick. You just get kind of slapped
Mhm.
around a little bit, and then you're like, oh wow, like that really sucked. And I'm not going to do that again, or let that happen again. So yeah, I think it's and then like I said, it just, I'm sure part of it is just to be lucky on that genetic lottery, and to be able to just my brain chemistry and whatnot. Who knows? But yeah, like this is just kind of how I am all the time, and anyone who spent time with me will attest to that.
Mm. Well, it sounds like, though, that you're not afraid to get outside of your comfort zone. It sounds like you always are kind of like you're okay with that discomfort of not only experience but of experimentation. And so, do you think that that is an accurate
Yeah, I mean, so
description of
with
how
the
you are?
optimism, I'm also very confident in my abilities. So I always think like, and this too, I think
Hmm.
is natural. I mean, not to say that um, I haven't lacked confidence in many situations, especially like when I was growing up. I was pretty shy. Um, I I was mostly like a video game and book kind of kid. I didn't really like go out and socialize a lot during high school or anything. Uh, so it was something that just kind of, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't do this consciously, but starting off your own business, who's going to be the main proponent of that? It has to be you first and foremost. And so starting this, my first business, IT and web development, when I was 19 years old, I looked 15. I would like dress up in a suit that was, we're talking like the old school suits, the baggy suits, and I would dress up in these suits, not pinstripe, but
Yes.
like if you
Pinstripe.
look at them now, you're like, ooh, it's like that '90s
Okay.
style. And I would go to these like
Yeah.
business mixers. I,
Wait, 90s style Detroit,
no,
meaning lime green
I
with
wasn't
the gator
I wasn't the
shoes? Is
mask.
that what you
I was
rocked? The
not like that.
Stacey
It wasn't
Adams?
like a zoot suit or anything. But
Okay.
um like yeah, I'd go
Okay.
to these like mixers at 19 looking younger, dressed in a suit. And what do you do there? Like back in the day, you had your business card and they'd like welcome you there, you'd have some hors d'oeuvres and like, all right, talk to strangers
Yes.
and like tell them what you do. So I learned to get out of that like that shell of being shy just because I had to, and like what better way to do it than that, to have to talk to
Mm.
strangers and to hype up your business. And I'm sure it was I don't remember a ton of the details anymore, but I'm sure it was a slow process. And it was helped also by
Sure.
I later on, we're talking like maybe like 5, 6 years later, after I'd already been running the business a little bit, and I knew I was making money and being somewhat successful, uh, to join like Rotary Club in my area, and I was standing up in front of groups and giving speeches, kind of like it wasn't like Toastmasters style, but like it still built that same confidence, talking to people, being in front of a room, that big. What is it like? Most people have a fear of public speaking, that kind of thing. Like um, I don't know if that was really like a
Yes.
fear of mine, but like I got a lot better at it. And so yeah, I have that experience to thank for that as well.
Well, it sounds like you have constantly been kind of uh, working on expanding, definitely making connections since you were very young, and so that I feel like is part of the reason why we kind of have gotten along over these years, why we've been co-creating, because you kind of embody the essence of what it means, what Fly Brother is all about, which is connection across background and boundary. And it seems like you got to that phase of understanding the benefit of connecting with people early on, even as you might have been kind of a little bit nerdy, a little bit, not sociable, maybe with your own peer group, but you seemed to have identified the need to be sociable with people that weren't necessarily from the same background or had the same experience, but
Sink or swim, right?
still you found
So
commonalities with.
I chose to swim. Definitely
Mm,
wasn't always easy, and also like there was the whole age thing too. 19, you're amongst all these like doctors and lawyers and all these other like service-based businesses trying to get clients, and you're this kid, in their eyes. I mean, I was a kid though, like I was totally a kid, and you're trying to
sure.
be like, I know what I'm doing, pay me thousands of dollars to do this thing, and I didn't have a side job. I did this through school, through university, and it was my only source of income. And so yeah, it's like there are no training wheels. You got to jump in the
Mm.
deep end and do it. And so yeah, a lot of the stuff I just learned it through doing, and like I said, making mistakes and doing it better next time.
Yes, I understand completely. So looking at now, you've led a nomadic life for since I've known you. And so what do you still find to be um actually let's start off at the beginning. How did you get into living
I
a
would say like
nomadic
the
life in the
genesis
first
of
place?
that was I was 18 years old and I did my first year of university in Japan on a work study program. And I loved it. It changed me and my
Hmm.
personality and whatnot quite a bit, for the better, I would say. And that also helped me kind of get out of my shell. First time living away
Yes.
from home and whatnot. And I got back to the US and I was like, oh, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, this isn't like Japan. Like I think I prefer Japan better. and so I was like, oh, like how do I get back there?
Okay.
And then you watch movies like Office Space and whatnot, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this corporate life, because I was thinking about like going into programming or 3D art and animation. Um, yeah, because I would have been in front
And
of
it
a
was Office
computer all
Space
day
that
long.
put you off
And I mean,
of
not to say
the
I'm not now, or when I
sure.
started my business or anything, like not much has changed on that. But at the time I was like, oh man,
Yes.
like I don't think I like this so much. You know, the idea of this, and only as an American getting like 2 weeks of vacation a year. I was like, oh man, weeks of vacation. Like I can't imagine like going over to Japan for that short of a time, and then that's it. Like you can't go anywhere else during the year. And so I was like, well, surely there must be some better way to do this. And then I was like, oh, I just start my own business. And so it was really started off as a way to um, get back my time. So be in control of my time. And it wasn't from a place of like wanting to get rich or anything. It was more like, oh, I want to be in control of my own time, and have the money that that I need to travel and to buy whatever I need, and to support myself, a lifestyle business. And that's how I ran that company for many years. Just, I'd get enough money to do what I wanted to do and buy what I wanted to buy, and I was very happy. And so I used that to travel around the world starting the next year in 2002. And I was just like doing the digital nomad thing before there was really a term for that, I believe, before, 4-hour work week and stuff like that. And I would do it more and
Sure.
more each year as I had more money to do so. And of course, I was able to do it more after I graduated from university. That helped too, because I was still, my parents like, you got to get a degree in something. It's like you got to get something because it's to fall back on. If you don't even need it now, like we want you to get your degree. So I was definitely set on doing that, and I did it.
Yes.
And then like I kept doing it more and more, and by the time it was, let's see, 2009 or 10, I was definitely like spending upwards of half the year out of the U.S. And then, prior to COVID, it was 9, 10 months out of the year out of the U.S. And I still have a home base as far as my voting and mailing addresses at my father's house, and I've got a bunch of my stuff there, and I'll still stay there when I'm in Michigan. But yeah, it's you're not there very often. I never had like a home of my own, or an apartment, or a house, or anything like that, mortgage. I bought whatever car I had, I bought it in cash. So I was living pretty lean, and that of course helps, like as far as finances, to be able to travel the world with.
Look at you being responsible. I did not follow that path, though I did. My parents were very much big on, very big on my going to college and that kind of thing. But
Well,
they
my
told
dad
me
said
don't get
get credit
credit
cards
cards,
and take advantage
and
of them. He
of
introduced me
course,
to
I
the mile system back when there was like Northwest
what
Airlines,
are you?
and he was like, okay, well you spend money, you get a mile for each dollar as long as you pay it off every
Mm,
month, and you don't pay that interest, then you're just getting free money basically. And so I did it that way for many years. And nowadays I've got I've been into travel hacking and whatnot for a long time, and I've got 20 something credit cards, and I make full use of them. But again, like the goal is to get the rewards and not pay interest, because when you pay the interest, you're taking away from the rewards. So yeah, there's definitely a certain way to do it. Not everyone has the knowledge or training to do that, or the impulse control. So I get that. I've definitely got friends that are that way. And even myself, like there was a period where I was funding my business and my life on credit cards, one of those in between business moments where you think it's going to go a little bit quicker than it does. And I definitely racked up some debt myself. So I've been there, done that, and like I said, remember making those bad decisions, you learn real quick.
sure, I have been there. You know. But you know what? It's part of the journey, and that's how we can
Hmm.
appreciate, the sun after having a little bit of rain. But it's all necessary. Then, in thinking about you being a nomad, how many countries have you been to, and what are some of the highlights? What are some of the countries that you really,
So
really
I get this question a
enjoy,
lot
and that
whenever
speaks to you, that
anybody
resonate?
hears, I've traveled a lot. And number one, still Japan. I've been there maybe 25 times. Speak the language. I do business over there. And, it's just, it
Hmm.
really connects with me. It really jives with me. I've got that experience from university, and I've got a lot of friends over there. And so it's somewhere that I visit every year. Besides that, Thailand, which I also have experience living at, but not like through a program or anything. It just I took advantage of, the geo arbitrage, able to live over there more cheap than like in the US or Europe and whatnot. And so I'd base myself there for months at a time and be pretty heads down. I'd get like a $500 apartment in Bangkok and then be heads down, just order food to be delivered and just like work 14 hours a day without leaving my apartment. That was like my grind space right there. Maybe go out once a week to maintain my sanity. But I've been to Thailand also, something like 20 times maybe. And then Turkey is also, or now Turkey is also has a spot in my heart because I went there on a Rotary study or like a Rotary group exchange program. And it was for young professionals. And did that right before I joined Rotary International Rotary Club, my local Rotary Club. And they sponsored me to go over there for 4 or 5 weeks and tour the country and visit Rotary clubs and meet all these people. And I knew nothing about Turkey, nothing at all. And went over there, had the greatest time, made so many friends. And after that, I kept going back, and I've lived there for months at a time as well, and learned some of the language. And I just really love like the culture and the language and the history. So that's another favorite of mine for sure.
Amazing, man. And I've been to all three of those and also have amazing experiences, and so I can see where they resonate with you.
Next year, let's do it.
Tanzania, which I haven't been to, and I'm excited to get there. And certainly with you, yes, man, let's do it. You have been operating Pamoja Safaris for a few years now. What is going on?
Or any one of our many other amazing
Josh
guides?
And Scott
that we always
what
pick
does
the
that
best
mean?
ones.
What kind of? Sure. I want you though. I want you and Josh. I want both of y'all together. And just so we're clear, everybody, Josh is Tanzanian through and through. And I think that's important for us to point out that it is co-locally owned. And, we want to make sure that people know it's, sustainable and that, the local economy is being supported when you support Pamoja Safaris. But my brother, tell me.
We do custom private safaris for any number of people. We have solo travelers, we've got couples, we've got families, friend groups, business groups, community groups where, maybe someone that has a community will bring over like 12, 18 people at a time. Yoga retreats, we have weddings there, honeymoons, you name it. So whatever you need, we can provide it. So what I ask is like, okay, how many days do you have? What time of year do you want to come? We'll provide a custom itinerary just for you. And you can edit it however you want, but we'll be like, okay, this many days, we recommend doing this. And, whatever amount of time you have, we'll make it so that you see as much as you can without feeling too rushed in the process. And, we'll take you through the Serengeti, see the Great Migration, to Ngorongoro Crater, which is an extinct volcano caldera. It's 12 miles across and filled with animals. To Tarangire National Park, which is full of elephants, thousands of elephants. Some really amazing stuff up there. And although I am biased, I've also traveled through much of Africa, at least northern, eastern, and southern Africa, almost every country. And I've done other safaris. And as far as the number of animals, the variety of animals, how close you can get to the animals, and then just kind of like the ease of it all, like it all being somewhat close together, really tough to beat northern Tanzania. Like, there's plenty of amazing spots on the continent and in other countries as well to do safaris. But for that whole package, like for a first timer, especially going over there, I'd pick that any day over places like Kruger or going to the Masai Mara in Kenya. It's a little bit more expensive because Tanzanian park fees are more expensive, but I've been to these other places, and we have guests that come to us after going to other safaris in other countries, other national parks, and they're like, wow, they're like, this blows that away. I'm looking at you, Kruger. But like it's really rewarding to be able to work over there, to go over there for 2 months or more every year, to live in the community. Like when I go over there, I live at my partner's house, Josh's house. He's got a wife, he's got 3 sons, and I live with them, and I'm part of the community. And like we work together on the business, whether it's while I'm over there, we're like running trips, like some friends and family trips, or we're doing some community engagement, or visiting new parks or new lodging and stuff like that. It's great to be over there every year, and it's one of those spots, just like Japan, that I visit every year now. And it's a really beautiful, beautiful country, and super friendly locals, and so many people that come over with us. Actually, this is their first time ever in the continent of Africa, and so I take that very seriously. That, and the fact that a lot of our guests are American and only have like 2 weeks of vacation a year. They're working. We have retirees come over too, but like many of them are still working. And I take it very seriously, like for their many people, their first safari experience, 1 or 2 of their only weeks of vacation a year, and the first time on the continent. And like that's a big responsibility to take on. I know,
Sure.
because I was there before, and so we are, honored to be that conduit between our guests and the inevitably amazing experience that we provide to them. We ask everyone for feedback and their reviews after every single trip, and I could tell you, this is a great business to be in, because nobody's ever let down. Like everyone comes back and they're like, "Oh my God, that was the best trip of my life. I've been to like dozens of countries. This is, surpassed everything. I'm gonna tell everyone about this." Like that is a normal review that we get. And we do it because we invest a lot into our company, whether it be our land cruisers that we take people in, or our guides, especially, using only the top 5-10% of guides, and wonderful lodging as well, and just going the extra mile and spending that extra money to make people happier, more comfortable. A lot of companies over there that are locally owned, they have a very like short-sighted mindset. They'd rather, if they could save $100 today, they'd gladly do it, because they're like, oh well, they probably won't come back anyway. It's a one-shot thing. A lot of people are over here for safari. It's a bucket list thing. We'll never see them again. So it's like a very short-sighted thing. They don't think about the potential business that could come if you just like try a little harder, and they'll tell their friends about it and provide you with more business. It's just unfortunately kind of prevalent, and you've got to imagine, like a lot of people that have these companies over there, they grew up, without a lot of means, and so it's kind of baked into, it doesn't even matter whether they're from Tanzania or Africa. It doesn't matter where you grew up in the world. Like if you grew up without a lot, you're going to be a little bit more hesitant to spend money and whatnot. So I totally get that. But luckily, my business partner Josh and I are on the same mindset, and we're like, no, let's do it. Let's do it to the best of our ability. And if it costs a little bit more, like so be it. Like I don't care about spending a little bit more if it's gonna, improve the adventure for our guests.
Amazing. I love the possibilities that you all are creating. Now, my question is, as someone who's not really big on safaris, who believes that, who loves animals in their own habitat, away from me, what what would be, something special for someone like me, who does enjoy new experiences? There is that aspect of it, and I have heard people say that they've had such a phenomenal experience on a Pomoja safari that I am intrigued, but at the same time, like, what's
I
gonna
mean,
have me not be like,
no. So
okay,
I get what you mean.
another
I mean, like
animal?
the animals are the main draw for
Or is
most
there a way
people,
to
but not
bridge that
all.
gap?
Also, Kilimanjaro. A lot of people come over to trek Kilimanjaro, and we provide those services as well. Have a great team on the mountain for that. But it's not necessarily everyone's main priority. Like we just had a solo female traveler from the U.S. come over, and she specifically stated, she's like, I like animals. I want to see them, but also like I don't want to just be out there seeing animals every day. I want to interact with the people there. I want to hike. I want, and so we said, oh yeah, that's fine. Like we could build that into your schedule. She had 2 weeks, and I
People,
think it was
yes.
a birthday trip that she set up for herself, like a little birthday gift. And so we had her, um, walk through the villages and introduce her to people, like different craftsmen or the people that make the bricks or the people that brew the beer, or just like seeing every single kind of like niche in these towns and how people live, how people make a living. And then go on a waterfall hike and see where the elephants dig into the cliffside to get minerals. And luckily they were actually up there at the time, so she could see that, see them like digging for the minerals for the salt. And then she didn't have enough time to do Zanzibar. She may not have wanted to do Zanzibar, sorry, not Zanzibar, Kilimanjaro. But she did do Zanzibar afterward, and so she said, same thing. I don't want to do an all-inclusive resort the whole time, but I do want to experience it. So we booked a 2 days all-inclusive resort, beautiful, beautiful spot on the eastern part of the island. And then she went to a spot in Stone Town, which is the capital of the island. The island is very famous because it used to be part of the Omani Sultanate, and it was the main spice trading capital for hundreds of years. And so they grow a lot of spices on this island still to kind of take people through these gardens, these forests, and show people how the spices are grown, how they're harvested, what they taste like. They'll give some to you, and just like chomp on this leaf a little bit, and a lot of things you're like, wow, like I've only seen this dried in a spice jar. This is how it grows. It's this giant tree, stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. And she went through the streets of Stone Town, which is really old architecture, and you can get lost in the streets there and visit all these shops and tons of wonderful restaurants, seafood, history. This is where Freddie Mercury from Queen was born and raised in his early years. So there's a lot to see and do there too. And also we took her to see some tribesmen during the safari portion. The Toga tribe, the Maasai people, the Hadzabe, hunter-gatherer tribe that makes their own bows and arrows by hand and hunts wild game, and that is their source of protein. And if they don't catch anything, they don't eat it. So a lot of different. There's many different ethnic groups in the country, and each one has their own
Mm.
language, their own traditions, their own looks, their own clothing. The Hadzabe tribe, they tend to wear baboon skins. So like it's a lot of if you're into like anthropology, like there's a lot to see and do there, and a
Okay.
lot of wonderful people to meet up with. And it doesn't matter what tribe or what ethnic group they're from. Like everyone is very, very friendly. And so like they love when you show an interest in them and their culture and you ask questions. Like they're very happy to answer and then ask you some questions back too, which is always fun to like see like what they ask. But yeah, so there's plenty that goes beyond the animals, beyond the animal portion of it, the safari portion of the trip.
And it sounds incredibly diverse, which is, a plus for me, and certainly sounds like it's a great way of experiencing all that a place has to offer, where you're connecting with the people, of course, which is it's something that we're trying to do, that we're doing with Fly Brother, is showing the cities and the culture and the dynamism of the people whenever we go to Africa, versus the focus being on the landscape and the animals, which are both breathtaking, but not the end all be all of the continent, as we've seen in media. So I'm excited for what we can put together going forward.
A
What
lot
do
of
you
photos and a lot of
want
memories.
people to take home with them after they
It's
experience
a no-brainer as far
Umoja
as like,
Safari,
when you
Scott?
go there, you will be amazed and delighted by the animals, by the people, by the landscapes. Nobody that goes isn't. Like it's just it's that good. It's it's so great to have like a product that never fails to amaze, I'm sure like a lot of people with product businesses that sell like widgets on Amazon and whatnot, would love to have that. Like nobody's being like, oh, this didn't live up to my expectations. I want to return
Mm,
this. Oh, this broke. Like it's great to be in a business. And I didn't plan this in the beginning. I had no idea besides me going on one time and being like, that was pretty cool. More people should do this.
mm,
Uh, it's come and see the animals, see the people, see the landscape, and then pass it on to everyone else. Because I feel like the more people that go to Tanzania and experience this, obviously add their tourist dollars to the local economy, and then like the more people will care that this is a thing, that it exists, that they'll want to conserve it. There were like plans to draft up like to put a freeway through the middle of the Serengeti Park, to make it easier to get from one side of the country to the other. And it was pretty staunchly opposed all over the world because there's so many people that have been there, and they're like, no, like, you can't do that. International outcry kind of stopped that, nipped it in the bud. But we need that to continue, and the only way it's going to continue is if new generations keep going and knowing how precious this is. It's the only place in the world where there's the great wildebeest migration, millions of wildebeest and zebras and other animals too, going in a constant circle, following the rains, following the green foliage. And that is amazing. Like, you look out and it's just a sea of animals. You don't need binoculars. Like, they're right there. Like, you're like driving, you're like, excuse me, zebra, excuse me, wildebeest, like, we need to drive through here. They're everywhere, and you just can't get that other places. So it's, yeah, I'm lucky. I'm lucky that my dad decided to take me on my first safari in Tanzania. I'm lucky that I met Josh. Josh just happened to be one of our guides. And that I just like came up with that idea out of the blue to be like, hey, Josh, like, what if we go into business together? When all I had was like an IT and web development background. So, just like a lot of random stuff happened, and here I am.
Well, could be divinely ordered as well.
Yeah,
But
for Pomoja
in
Safaris, it's
helping
just
that
as you can see on my
mission and
shirt,
effort continue, how can people connect with
Pamoja,
you and find
Pomoja
out more?
Safaris. And there's only one of us, pomojasafaris.com or at Pomoja Safaris on TikTok, Insta, or Facebook. We're on all of them. We're pumping out some really good social
.com.
media right now. Just hired a new manager that's crushing it. Thank you, Melissa. She's doing a really good job putting up some fire content. So yeah, go check us out.
Love it. All right, man. Thank you so much for being here today, Scott. And everybody, remember, check out Pomoja
Thanks for having me,
Safaris.
Ernest. Come on over,
And
y'all.
we're looking forward to seeing what's next in Tanzania, Japan, and many other places around the world. Thank you for being here, Scott. Hey.